And we are back once again with another episode of Joe's Knows Basketball. We're back with episode 2. I'm Giacomo Prali, joined here by Dominic Urbafina, Avery Stutz, Zaylu, and Isaiah. We are filming this episode right before the kickoff of the NBA season, so we're going to take a deep dive into each of our award predictions as well as some predictions of where we think teams are going to fall within the NBA, some of the win totals, some teams we think will do a lot better, and some teams we think will do a lot worse. So we're going to start it off with those awards, though, kicking it off with our most improved player to start off the year. So, Dom, I'm going to throw it to you first. Who is your most improved player?
Yeah, I'm gonna start these awards off hot. Give me Scotty Barnes. We've seen him so far in the preseason, absolutely balling out. Raptors having a massive year this year. Scotty Barnes for most improved player.
Definitely not biased, but yeah, definitely not a biased pick, right?
If it's going to me, then I'll take Ben Simmons. Obviously, a lot of controversy. He doesn't play. He's never going to play. But I think this year, looking at his preseason numbers, he's looking to prove everybody wrong and come out averaging at least 15 minimum this game and lead a Nets team that's young and hungry to have some fun and win.
Zay.
For most improved, the person I have is actually Cade Cunningham. Cade, I believe, is going to come into his element, averaging about a double-double this season. He has his right-hand man, Jalen Duren. He's going to be heating up this season, and I have him most improved player with averaging about 25 points.
Isaiah, throw it to you.
I think that there's only one correct answer here, and it is going to be Jordan Poole. With him leaving Golden State, joining Washington, being his own guy, the main man of the team, I feel like he has to drop probably 25, 30-ish. I feel like he's going to have an amazing career at Washington, and I feel like there's just nothing that's going to stop him, and he's going to do excellent this year.
Yeah, big fan of the Jordan Poole pick. I'm going to go a route with a guy that had his superstar leave and a guy that I just think is going to ball out. And that's Anthony Simons. People sleep on this guy and how good he is. He averaged 22 a game alongside Damian Lillard, and now he's gone. I think Scoot is going to start off a little slow his first couple of games. But even when he starts to heat up, I think Anthony Simons is going to blossom into just a great young player. I think he'll as well be in that 25 to 30 range. I think he can be dropping buckets every night in that Western Conference. But if there's no other comments, I think we're going to move it on to our next award pick, which is going to be the Rookie of the Year. Dom, I'll throw to you.
So some people are gonna hate me for this one. Going two Raptors back to back, but give me Grady Dick. He's a very talented player. There are some definitely better players in this draft ahead of him, but Wemby, very very possibly gets injured. Chet, same thing. Raptors are gonna have a great year, and for them to have a great year, Grady Dick needs to step up, and he's gonna do it.
Yeah, I mean, this is just the most biased take ever with two generational players in front of him. This is just a joke. Once again, Dominic Urbafina bringing joke takes to the table at Joe's No Sports. I mean, what else is new? Vikings to the Super Bowl, and now Grady Dick for Rookie of the Year. It's two back-to-back in episodes. But Avery, I'm going to let you talk and give something that's probably going to be better than Grady Dick.
Excited here, man. Victor Wembanyama is probably the most favored rookie since LeBron came in 2001 or whenever he joined the league. This kid is like 7'4". He can run like a guard, he can shoot like a guard, and he can play like a big. I don't see any other rookie competing with him this year.
Isaiah, I'll throw it to you. Or Zay.
I actually have two picks for this year's Rookie of the Year. First off, I'm gonna have to take Julian Strawther, the rookie on the Denver Nuggets from Gonzaga University. Julian Strawther, so far in the preseason, has done amazing. He shot over 50% from the field and 45% from the arc. That's just amazing. And going into a team like the Nuggets, he's probably going to average around 20 points per game. That's going to be a great addition for them. Next, I have Kennedy Chandler. He had a terrific summer league and cemented himself as one of the pivotal guys off the bench for the Utah Jazz. And that's another under the radar pick that I have for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I was about to say two very under the radar picks from Isaiah. I mean, neither of those guys I think were even in the discussion for those, but two guys that really stood out in the preseason to him. But Isaiah, I'll throw it to you real quick.
Yeah, those are two really interesting picks from Zaylu. But I'm gonna go a bit more mainstream. I think if you have a guard duo with Josh Giddey and SGA, I think Chet Holmgren is going to win it, with 2 point guards who have elite playmaking in those two. Chet Holmgren being a center who basically is a new Kevin Durant. He could do so much on the ball as a center. He could get into the paint, he could get dirty, he could get points, rebounds, he could block, he could do almost anything on the court. And coming into a rookie, I believe that Chet's just that guy, he's just going to elevate OKC so far. I believe that they could easily make it to the playoffs with those three.
Yeah, and for the first time today, I'm actually going to agree with someone on the show. I, as well, have Chet Holmgren winning Rookie of the Year. I just think that coming off of that injury and with the roster he has around him, I think he's built for success, especially with SGA. He doesn't have to be super ball dominant in his rookie year, but he's going to dominate all over the glass, and he's going to be able to score his own whenever he needs to. And that'll transition us into our next award, which is the Sixth Man of the Year. Dom, once again, I'll throw it to you first.
Yeah, another team that I'm a big fan of is the Lakers. Rui Hachimura. I think he's gonna have a breakout year. He's been practicing with LeBron. All signs are pointing up. It's bound to happen. He's gonna have a great year.
Avery?
I actually have two for Sixth Man of the Year. One being Malik Monk. He definitely was a key factor in the Kings Warriors series last year, and looking to step it up even further to help lead the Kings to their next playoff series. But I also have a controversial one that I'll bring up. Chris Paul. If Chris Paul comes off the bench and the Warriors have half a decent season, I think he could be a pivotal factor in leading the young guys off the bench, and especially when Curry's off the floor, and hopefully lead the Golden State Warriors deeper into the playoff than they did last year.
Yeah, here's my question: is how much is a fossil of CP3 going to improve this Warriors offense? I mean, let's be honest. I get he's going to be good off the bench. I mean, I just don't get how a pre-extinct Chris Paul is really going to win 6 Man over the year over some of these young guards that can just be so explosive and just score in bunches, which Chris Paul obviously can. He can facilitate for sure, but he can't score like some of these other young guards and young forwards that we have seen can score.
I think. Well, I think you're wrong. I think he's got a decent shot because he's a pass first player, and especially playing alongside Klay Thompson and and Steph Curry, he's fit into this Golden State offense in the preseason. He looks for his own shot when needed, but he facilitates the offense and gets other guys going before he does. And I think that's something the NBA has to look at before they look at the young guys, is how the sixth man helps the offense run when their star player is off the floor.
Good point there. Zaylo, I'll throw it to you.
My Sixth Man of the Year, Giacomo. I know you're definitely going to like this one. Emmanuel Quickley from the New York Knicks. Quickley had a fantastic year last season, off the bench, being a pivotal part of this Knicks bench. Had about 15 points a game on 45% shooting from the field. This year, I believe the only way these numbers can go is up, as he scores about 17 to 18 points per game, leading the Knicks bench and eventually capturing the NBA Sixth Man of the Year.
Isaiah, I'll throw it to you.
I think there's going to be a back-to-back here in my guy from Portland, Malcolm Brogdon. I feel like, Infeast and Scoot both going to start over him. He's going to come off the bench. He's going to be lively. He's going to be active. He's going to be aggressive. He's going to get points. And I think it's just going to go back-to-back, honestly.
Most definitely. I feel like Malcolm Brogdon has been flown under the radar as he was in that Portland trade. And it's really definitely a very new look for him. But I'm actually going to agree with someone once again on this panel. Zaylo, I'm going to agree with you. I think Emmanuel Quickley should win the Sixth Man of the Year once again. Obi Toppin is another part. He took a lot of shots off that bench, and now he's gone. So it just means more shots and more efficiency for Emmanuel Quickley off that bench. He is the spark plug, and he is the life that the Knicks need. Whenever they need some kind of offense, they always just plug him in, and he's the guy that they can go to get their three ball and get their momentum swinging in the right way. But that, I believe, will transition us into our next award, the Coach of the Year. Dom, let's hear it from you.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the OKC coach Mark Daniel, or however you say his last name. OKC. I know a lot of you like Chet Holmgren. I also think he's gonna have a big year. Shea is obviously he's amazing. I think they're gonna put all the pieces together, and they're gonna have a solid year under him as coach.
Avery?
I think it's Pelicans head coach Willie Green. Zion's coming back healthy. They got a young team, and they were at the top of the West for quite a while last year until Zion's injury. But I think he's looking to push his team even further and make the jump that they need to get into the playoffs.
My pick for coach of the year is actually coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers, JB Bickerstaff. I believe he has the pieces right now in Evan Mobley, Donovan Mitchell, definitely even Amani Bates, a guy who he said he loved during this preseason and the summer league. I believe that he can change all of these guys' careers, make them into a high playoff team, and eventually win coach of the year.
Yeah, a really young, loaded Cavs team that could make some noise in the East. I mean, they did a little bit last year, but did fall victim to the Knicks. But definitely, JB Bickerstaff really looking to reload that team. Isaiah, I'll throw to you real quick for your coach of the year.
I'm gonna go with Adrian Griffin of the Milwaukee Bucks. I feel like there's a duo that's gonna be too overpowering. That's Giannis and Dame. Two opposites that are obviously gonna attract points, get wins. I feel like they're getting 60, close to 70 wins this season. I feel like Bucks could go all the way, and I feel with new experience, it might be a little bit rough, but I feel like everyone's new coming together. I feel like it's a new, fresh restart for the Bucks. I feel like they're going all the way. And I feel like Coach Adrian is going to be a really, really pivotal role in that.
Yeah, the Bucks obviously looking to go all the way. We've seen them do it. We'll see if they can do it again. But I'm gonna go with a little bit of an under the radar pick here with my coach of the year. I'm gonna go with the Grizzlies coach Taylor Jenkins. I think that while John Moran is gone, he's gonna have a lot on his plate figuring out what guys can step in to help with that scoring. And then once Ja does come back, I think the Grizzlies are gonna be a legit contender in the Western Conference. I really think people forget how good some of these role players on the Grizzlies are. Guys like Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr. are so elite and at the top of their position. So I think that Taylor Jenkins does have his work cut out for him. I think he's going to execute what he has to do very, very well to at least keep the Grizzlies in that middle of the pack while he is missing his star player. But that will move us into one of our last couple of awards here. We are going to throw it to the Defensive Player of the Year. Dom, I'll throw it to you.
I feel like this is a pretty simple one. Jaren Jackson Jr. Yeah, great defensive player. He averaged 3 blocks last year, and I think he could possibly even average even more. I think he's just an all around great defensive player, and he should win it.
Avery.
I'm going to side with Dom here. It's a clear choice. He's the best. Yep, he's one of the best, if not the best defender in the NBA. He certainly was last year, and I think he can bump up those blocks per game numbers to near 7 or 8 this year, especially with John Moran out. They're going to have to step it up defensively, and I think Jaren Jackson Jr. is the way to do it.
Hey, Lou, I'll throw it to you.
I mean, Giacomo, it's a clean sweep. We got 1, 2, and 3. Jaren Jackson Jr., Defensive Player of the Year. This man had 3 blocks per game last year. Honestly, I just don't think there's anyone getting over him, and that's my Defensive Player of the Year.
Isaiah, let's see if you have the same.
I'm gonna end the streak, and I'm gonna go with Evan Mobley of the Cleveland Cavaliers. I believe the Cleveland, the team, really good defensive team, and it's all led around Evan Mobley. I feel like he's gonna up his blocks, up his rebounds. He's gonna be bigger, with a guy his size and his skill, his speed. I feel like no one can really get past him if you see it on the court. And yeah, I feel like he's just gonna get it over JJJ.
Yeah, I'm also going to disagree with most of the panel with Jaren Jackson Jr. I'm going to take a guy who I feel like has flown under the radar. Zaylo, I know this will put a smile on your face. I think it's going to be Nick Claxton. I think that this young big man has a lot to prove this year, averaging a block and a half a game, or excuse me, 2.5 blocks a game last year in the regular season. I think that number could jump as well. He'll be the defensive anchor for this Brooklyn Nets team. I mean, they do have Mikal Bridges, which will help with that, but I also think that Nick Claxton is just due for such a big year this year. I think that the Nets are going to be a very under-the-radar team that can cause a lot of noise, and they're going to have to rely on Nick Claxton to be that driving force in the middle for them. And with no further comments, that'll take us into the most important award of the season, the MVP. Dom, let's hear it from you first.
Yeah, Isaiah, you said, Bucks this, Bucks that, Bucks to the championship, but there's just one team in their way. and then that's Celtics. I got Jason Tatum as my MVP pick. I really think this addition of Drew Holiday, it's gonna click. Jason Tatum's been a great player for years, and it's bound to happen, and it's gonna happen.
I'm gonna disagree here. That you're forgetting about the defending champ, Jokic. He's won three. He can win 3 out of the last 4 times of the MVP this year, and he's got the best chance to do it. He's on the defending champs. He's the best player in the NBA. You can't guard him. He plays so slow that he's too slow for guards to guard him, but he's too quick for bigs to guard him. He's an offensive mastermind. There's no other person that I would pick for MVP this year.
Zelo?
I'm going to go right along with Avery. I have Nikola Jokic. This man absolutely dominated in the regular season and somehow still did not get MVP over Joel Embiid. And he quickly showed why he should have won the award in the playoffs. He had an amazing postseason, averaging 30, 13, and 10 a game. And he also has his right-hand man this year, Jamal Murray, who's looking to have a all-star year season. And along with Julian Strother and a bunch of other guys coming off the bench, I just believe he will get this MVP this season.
Isaiah?
I'm going to go with Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Milwaukee Bucks. I believe with Dame Lillard on the team and Chris Middleton, he's just going to stretch the floor so much that Giannis just going to have so much fun in the paint. He's going to do whatever he wants. He's going to have his fun. I feel like Dom's pick, like Jason Tatum, for example, it's just he's okay, but I don't think he can carry the Celtics, all the way, drop another 30-point season. I don't think that's happening from him. I feel like, he's just an average wing with advanced skill and, more dribbling. But that's really it. If you think he's flashy, he's not going to carry the Boston Celtics team to a championship like Giannis will.
Yeah, and Isaiah, me and you are 100% on the same page here. My pick for MVP is as well Giannis Antetokounmpo, just because of the fact that we've seen him carry this Bucks team, and I really think that this is again another year he's going to show. I still think he's the best player in the world. I think he's better than Jokic. I think that he is really just going to rule the league this year. I think the Bucks are going to be one of the best teams in the league, and Giannis Antetokounmpo has year in and year out shown that he can get it done once and over and over and over again. So with no further comments, that will take us into our next segment of the show. We have our over-under lines from ESPN, their projected win total. So we each picked one team that we think is going to go over that projected win total, and one team we think is going to go under that win total. So one team we think will be really good, one team we think will be really bad. So Dom, I'm going to let you talk about your 2 teams first.
Yeah, so my first team, man, I love them. The Toronto Raptors, man, they're just gonna have a great year. A great all around team, great defensive team. OG Anunoby gonna be a front runner for Defensive Player of the Year. If I didn't mention him before, but it's gonna happen. Grady Dick is gonna step up. Scotty Barnes is gonna step up. Gary Trent is looking like a great player out there. With the addition of Dennis Schroeder running the point, I just love it. I'm taking the over any day. So yeah, that's why. And for my under, I'm taking the Dallas Mavericks. I feel like the Luka and Kyrie, they're doing too much. I feel like they put up great numbers, both of them. Dropping 30 points a game, night in and night out. But in the end of the day, I feel like they're not winning that many games. I mean, if they want to win games, I feel like pairing up a center with Luka would be 10 times better than pairing up 2 ball hog point guards. So
yeah, I'm gonna hop in here real quick. I don't disagree with either pick more. I mean, these 2 picks are absolutely terrible, both of them combined. I think if you switch them, they'd be good. I think that the Raptors are going under because they lost their best scorer or second best scorer, in Fred VanVleet. I think that the Raptors are going to miss him so much this year. And the Scotty Barnes breakout to me just is not that appealing. I'm not a big Scotty Barnes guy. I don't think he's that great. And the Mavericks, I mean, I think Luka once again is going to finish top 3 in MVP voting. He is one special player. And Kyrie's just going to be Kyrie. I think that that now that they have at least half a season under their belt, they're going to be a little bit more experienced and they'll be able to share the floor a little bit more. So yeah, I'm going to completely disagree with both of these. But Avery,
As I said before, Luka's always going to be, top 5 in MVP because he puts up the numbers. But is he winning the games? No, he's not winning the games.
Are you
Also,
saying
with this Scotty Barnes stepping up, if you watch the preseason at all, he's putting up like 20 a game. He's balling. This is a great, we spread the floor, get it to the open guy, hit the three. It's quality basketball is being played in Toronto.
Yeah, LeBronto, as they call it, all the Lakers fans. Avery, I'll throw it over to you for your next two teams.
No surprise. I picked over for the Golden State Warriors at 48.5. Steph Curry's still Steph Curry. And Jonathan Kuminga, it was an absolute eye-opener for preseason. 20-plus points a game. And he was arguably the best player during preseason. And now you have Klay Thompson coming back, working all summer. And yes, Draymond Green is out to start the opener. But Chris Paul is flowing with this mayhem offense that is Golden State. And Steve Kerr has done a fantastic job incorporating him into that offense. And Dario Saric, they also signed in the offseason, is an X factor. He can stretch the floor, and he's a definite backup to Kevon Looney, who is their most important big. Now, they're going to go small, but I certainly think this Golden State Warriors team can crack 50-plus wins this season. However, but Boston is favored 53-5, and I chose them to go under because I don't think another year of Tatum and Brown can get them over 50-plus wins. We've shown them they almost came back from 3-0, but they don't have the legs to go all the way. They almost did in 22, but they didn't have the legs. Adding Drew Holiday was smart. It's another guard instead of Marcus Smart who can stretch the floor. And Kristaps Porzingis was an absolute dog this preseason. But I don't think this Boston team is ready to make that 50-plus jump and even into 60 like the Bucks are and even Golden State because they just don't have the legs in their two best players, Tatum and Brown.
Yeah, I'm gonna hop in here real quick. I think the Celtics do have the legs. I think Tatum. As I said before, he's gonna win MVP. He's gonna be top 2 at least. I mean, he's just a great player. Adding in Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis looked like the best center I've ever seen in my life in the preseason. I mean, only good things are gonna happen, and they're definitely getting 54 or more wins.
Yeah, so I'm gonna hop in here real quick as well. I'm gonna agree and disagree with what was said. Avery, I'm gonna agree with the fact that I think the Celtics are going under, but for the wrong reasons. We talked about it in our first episode of the season. My concern is still in that front court and the lack of presence. You're relying on a 42-year-old Al Horford, as well as players of people like Dom right here, who, yes, Porzingis has been a great player. The injury concerns, he may be one of the most injury-prone players in the league. We know he's going to miss plenty of time this year. So once again, at least for the regular season, I don't think that they're even going to come close to that 53.5 line. Maybe a little close, but I really think it's the lack of the front court. That is my reason why the Celtics, I think, are going under.
Come on, guys. I mean, you pick up Drew Holiday, an extraordinary defensive player, a unicorn Kristaps Porzingis, drops 20 points per game. Yeah, Jason Tatum, who I said isn't really that good, but at the end of the day, he's still going to put up points. And Jaylen Brown, his +1. That's just almost a complete team, There's just no way that they get under the amount of wins that is projected. They're probably also edging 60. I think them and the Bucks are the only two teams in the East that have that real push for going towards the championship.
Yeah, definitely a couple of interesting contrasting views here. But Zaylo, I'm gonna throw to you for your couple of picks.
Yeah, I actually want to revert back to what Avery said with the Golden State Warriors. You mentioned preseason. I'm sorry, but preseason does not matter whatsoever. I could say preseason as much as I want. The Houston Rockets are 4-1 in the preseason. Does that mean they're going to be good in the regular season? No, not at all. You mentioned Chris Paul also being a pivotal part to this team off the bench. Chris Paul is aging. This man is fossils, straight fossils. He is averaging 13 points a game. That is not what you need off the bench. You mentioned Denny coming onto the team. He's averaging 6 points a game. This man can only shoot threes. And when he shoots threes, he is not efficient whatsoever. The only players you have that will lead you onto this team is basically Steph Curry and sometimes Klay Thompson. I don't think this team will be over at all, and that might just be a little bit way over their heads.
So, Golden State, you're talking about Chris Paul, about him aging. He's still gonna be one of the best playmakers in the league, coming off the bench, especially helping, off of Curry, subbing out. I feel they may not get exactly over, but the way Zaylu was talking about them sort of hurting my feelings a bit because I feel like the Warriors are just going to be just as good last season, probably better picking up Chris Paul instead for Jordan Poole. I feel like Jordan Poole, he is an elite scorer, but I feel like the Warriors just need movement because that's what they've been built upon under Steve Kerr, moving the ball. And I feel like Chris Paul is really, really good in moving the ball.
I'm obviously going to agree with Isaiah. This whole offseason and preseason was about connectivity, something that Golden State did not have last year with Jordan Poole and Draymond Green. There was disconnect in the locker room. This whole offseason, including preseason, was about getting the team to be connected and having fluidity throughout the entire team, from even the front office down to the last guy on the bench. Chris Paul is a vital part of that because he said that that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to bring together this team and help them win. That's all this team cares about now. It cares about winning. They got rid of their two-timeline roster, got rid of Jordan Poole, brought back Draymond Green, and that core is the most winning core in league history, or one of the most winning trios of all time. This, again, preseason doesn't matter. Right, preseason doesn't even matter. But if you want to improve players like Jonathan Kuminga, his breakout season has to happen this season, and he's showing that he can do it. He was averaging 20 plus during preseason. So I do think that with the addition of his breakout season and Chris Paul creating a different style of offense and that connectivity that they strive to create during the offseason, and I think this Golden State Warriors team could be very dangerous, especially losing in the second round of the playoffs last year.
Yeah, Warriors could shape up to either be, in my opinion, a really good team or just an okay team, depending on how some of the role players are able to fit into their spots. Isaiah, I'm going to throw it to you. Can you give us, or wait, did you give your picks yet or no?
No, I didn't.
No. All right, so I'll throw it to you first.
So my picks this season are the Detroit Pistons being over in their 28.5 wins. I believe that Cade Cunningham is going to have an absolute banger of a season, going to have over 25 points per game. Jalen Duren's going to come into his element. Killian Hayes is finally going to find his shot. He's going to start getting back into the groove of things. We saw him in France. He was an amazing player in France. And I believe that after struggling for so long, he's going to get his mental health back and he's going to project his play onto the floor. Next, I actually have the New York Knicks on an under of 45.5 wins. This team, I'm sorry, Giacomo, but this team has, to me, I think little to no defense against big players. We saw this in the preseason. Jordan Poole put up 41 points on the New York Knicks, and that's not the only person who actually put up big points against them. Kyle Kuzma had a great game against the New York Knicks. You need to shut down a secondary player like him. And it's just something you just don't want to see. Jalen Brunson, even though he can come in during games, he was doing great in the preseason, but I just don't think it's going to translate. Julius Randle still taking a lot of shots, and I just don't think it's going to translate into a 45 over win season.
Yeah, so I'm gonna hop in here real quick. First of all, I love the Pistons pick. I think it's a great pick. I think it's honestly a joke how they're this low. I think they'll skyrocket this. I say there's some major problems with the Knicks pick. So first of all, last episode in the first season, you were talking about how good you thought the Knicks were gonna be, and now you're gonna say that they're gonna go under the line. Listen, if we're being honest, this line right here, 45.5, I think is right around where they're going to be. If I had to pick one, I'd probably take the under as well. But once again, I think it's for the wrong reasons. They have Mitchell Robinson, who is a just pure defensive center. I mean, listen, is he a great defensive center? No, but he's definitely a serviceable big man. They have the size. It's more of the Knicks are just an okay team, and that's all they are until they get a profound superstar or just some kind of absolute stud to pair with Jalen Brunson, they're not going to be that great. Julius Randle's going to have the same season he did last year, and they're just going to be another okay team. They're going to be middle of the pack in the East, and they're just going to be right around where their line total is.
I'm gonna agree with Guac here. I think they're gonna be even with their line total at 45, maybe even 46 wins. But something to keep in mind is Josh Hart had a plus 11.9 points when he was on the court, and adding Dante DiVincenzo and Jalen Brunson, even with Ryan Arcidiacono, who probably won't play, that's 4 Villanova players on one team, and we know that that chemistry can translate on the court. Now, defense, what teams lack in defense sometimes make up an offense. This offense is fun to watch. They can put up big numbers, and Jalen Brunson can definitely lead the way with 30 plus a game if he needs to.
Yeah. We're calling back to what Zalu said about the Knicks, how they have no defense. Mitchell Robinson, like someone said, is just a pure defensive player. I believe that Julius Randle is still a really good defensive player. He could lock people up any day of the week. RJ Barrett, he's coming into his form. I think that's his best attribute, his defense. His wingspan, getting steals, turnovers, stuff like that. And then quickly, also really aggressive. I feel like the Knicks could probably go over. I feel like they could probably do better than a team like the Cavaliers. I feel like they'll be around Philadelphia with 50, 55 wins. I feel like this Eastern Conference is really stacked, and I feel like the Knicks are just one of those teams.
Yeah, Zalu, anything to add here before I throw it to Isaiah?
I mean, you guys mentioned RJ Barrett. I mean, just those guys, I just don't believe can get it done on the offensive side of the ball either. I'm just going to have to say I disagree with it.
And that'll take us, Isaiah. I'm going to throw to you for your picks.
So I feel like there's one problem with Philadelphia here, and it is the James Harden situation. If that gets dealt with, I feel like Philadelphia is third in the Eastern Conference. I feel like Joel Embiid, we already know about him. He deserved MVP last year. Everyone's saying he didn't. He had a heck of a season last year. I feel like he's just going to rinse and repeat the same thing again this year, with or without James Harden. If they trade him, they could get, so much more depth. They already picked up, Danny Green. He was already at Philadelphia, really proven 3-and-D player. Mo Bamba, he's going to come off the bench, and he was starting back at Orlando. I feel like he's going to be such an amazing player coming off the bench. I also feel like just the team itself, with the included depth, Tyrese Maxey's also on the court, Tobias Harris. I feel like all these players are just going to help bring Philadelphia over the line. Even with the new coach, Nick Nurse, he's also proven won Toronto championship with basically Kawhi Leonard. I feel like Philadelphia is just going to have a really good season. And the under for me is Miami Heat. They really missed out on Damian Lillard this summer, which was, I think, what could have brought them to championship. But now I feel like they're just edging towards the play-in spots again. I feel like Tyler Hero and, Bam Adebayo, are they really the best key players to go around Jimmy Butler? No. I don't even think Jimmy Butler is that big of a star himself. I feel like they could be edging towards the 9-10 seed, with the way their front office is going, the way their coach. They still have Eric Spoelstra since, 2010, 2011? I feel like there's no order in this team at all.
All right, so I'm going to hop in here real quick. I loved absolutely every word you said until you told me that Jimmy Butler was not a superstar. And that's where I draw the line. This dude single-handedly carried a play-in team to the Eastern Conference Final. I mean, time and time again. Listen, is he the greatest regular season player? Absolutely not. But when the playoffs come, which is what matters, Jimmy Butler turns into a monster. We've seen it year after year after year. So I just think that the fact of not calling him a star or let alone a superstar is just disrespectful to how good he has been in the postseason, how he has stepped up when it really matters.
Guac, I agree with you, but the thing is just during the regular season, because there is playoff Jimmy. We all know about him. He's probably one of the best players last year in the playoffs. But in the regular season, is he really that special? No, he's not going to bring the Miami Heat to the fifth or sixth seed. They're going in the play-ins, and with no other confirmed superstar next to him, I feel like that's going to be a problem. I think you really need two players to push yourself
No.
towards the front seat.
No, I 100% agree with you. I was just saying that the fact that we're not calling Jimmy Butler a superstar, I just think is wrong, just because of how good he's in the playoffs. But I do think that the Heat are going under their line, and Jimmy Butler is not the greatest in the regular season. I will 100% agree and back you on that. Zalo?
Okay, Isaiah. Sixers over 44.5 wins. I'm sorry. It's not happening. Even last year, they were great. Joel Embiid, MVP. Did they get over 54.5? No, they didn't. And Tyrese Maxey, I'll gladly give that man his flowers. With James Harden out, he did amazing. Man had 20, I believe 20.5 points, was swinging the rock, had about 3 assists a game. You're talking about Mo Bamba. Is this the same Mo Bamba that scored 3 and almost 4 points a game on the Lakers? We know Mo Bamba on a team with other superstars can't do anything. He had over 10 points in his life, one time, and I think that was in his second season. Mo Bamba is not going to do anything on this Sixers team. This Sixers team is going to go under 54.5, and it's just not going to happen whatsoever.
I'm definitely going to rebuttal this. Philadelphia with the depth, like Danny Green, he's an example. Him coming off the bench to be that sort of 3-and-D player, he is just going to be one of those players, those underrated players that are going to help Philadelphia do something this year. I feel like, you clowning on Mo Bamba about getting 10 points. 10 points is basically all that they really need. When you have Joel Embiid who's going to drop 30, you don't need a backup center who drops 15, 20 points. And Mo Bamba was just that perfect key because Philadelphia, they never had that 7-foot center to come off the bench. They had Paul Reed who was really aggressive, but he's not really that big of a guy. And I also feel, with new coach Nick Nurse, again, he brought Toronto with basically only Kawhi Leonard to a championship. I feel like he could definitely do it with more talent. I feel like this Philadelphia team is going to probably push it with Boston and Milwaukee. I feel like they can make it to the Eastern Conference Finals this year, depending on who they play.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I'm gonna hop in here right before you. I just gotta say something real quick. I
go ahead.
completely agree with Zay. I think Mo Bamba he's just not good at all. I think the only reason I even know who he is because of the song. So I'm just gonna leave it at
It's a
that.
good song, though.
Avery,
It's a good
Avery,
song.
you can go.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem with the 76ers is James Harden. He hasn't shown up to practice. He's not talking to the media. He's not doing anything around this team. And he was one of the players that they brought in that they thought they could help them elevate them to a championship team. Do I think they're a top 3 team in the East? Yes, probably. They're probably going to finish third, maybe even fourth, depending on injuries and stuff. But James Harden is the X factor here if Philadelphia wants to get over that 54.5 wins. He needs to show up and not be prime James Harden dropping 60 a game. He needs to show up and fit the role that he wants to fit, which is being the point guard and scoring and taking over the game when he needs to and getting other guys going. We've seen him dish out the ball plenty of times when he was in his prime, but he's not doing anything around this team right now. And I think that's the reason Philadelphia is going to underperform this season because James Harden isn't going to show up because he doesn't want to.
Avery, I definitely agree with you. James Harden being an absence is definitely one of the most important things for this Sixers team. We actually, with James Harden and Tyrese, with James Harden being out, and Tyrese Maxey being in, we saw the numbers decrease as a team for the Philadelphia 76ers. Tyrese Maxey, great player also, yes. But James Harden is just an all-star. That is an all-star type player. That is one of I would say one of the greatest. He has one of the greatest single seasons ever. That's a player that you cannot lose on. Another thing, Mo Bamba. I'm sorry, I have to go back to him. Mo Bamba he's averaging 6.6 points per game. Isaiah, you said 10 points is all you need. 10.6 points is all you need. That was in 25 minutes of play. 10 points in 25 minutes in play, not the best thing I would want to see. He had almost 4 points in about, 10 minutes of play on the Lakers. He's going to get a lot less minutes on this team. Tyrese Maxey is going to decline. Joel Embiid is going to decline. We saw it in the Nets series. I'm sorry. I see the reactions already. Joel Embiid is going to decline in the Nets series.
No, go ahead. Finish.
In the Nets series, he had to get bailed out by a guy like Tyrese Maxey. He was getting absolutely locked up by Nick Claxton. He went into his next series, got locked up. It just doesn't pan out for them with a guy like Joel Embiid.
Okay, I was agreeing with you. I'm gonna let you maybe either take your words back. You said Tyrese Maxey is gonna decline. I agree with Embiid. Do you believe that Tyrese Maxey is gonna decline this year? Oh, see. Now I'm gonna completely disagree with you. This is an absolute joke. Tyrese Maxey is once again due for a huge season, especially because I don't think Harden's gonna be there. I think Tyrese Maxey is absolutely due for a huge season. I don't think he's due for a decline. I think he's due for a big incline. I mean, this guy is. I think Tyrese Maxey is so under the radar. He's an absolute stud. I'm a huge Tyrese Maxey guy going into this year. And for what reason? What reason could he possibly decline? Like, tell me. What reason could he possibly decline this year, Zach?
I mean, the obvious reasons are Joel Embiid taking more shots. I mean, it's inevitable. He's going to want to take more shots. He did in the playoffs. Tyrese Maxey's numbers went down in the playoffs. We saw it happen. And I'm going to go back to Tyrese Maxey. In 32 minutes of play on October 20th, 2023, this man in 32 minutes had 15 points. In another game, he had 15 minutes, 8 points. That's great. But the lack of having it up and coming, keep going with it, having it steady, it's not going to happen. He's going to come in, he's going to take James Harden's spot, and he's not going to be able to keep his numbers steadily. I'm sorry, he was coming off the bench in a secondary role for a guy like James Harden. You're having a lot more energy, you're having a lot more pride in yourself, and you're having a lot more enthusiasm coming into the game. You're going to want to score more, and I just don't think he's going to incline this season.
Yeah, Isaiah, I'm going to throw to you real quick before I head over to my picks.
Okay, so let me get one thing straight. James Harden isn't gone yet. He's still there. He's still a Sixer. That's 1.1. And that is going to probably register in a lot of people's heads saying that he's going to get traded. What if he doesn't? What if he comes back and drops another 24 points, another 10 assists for a team that basically really do need that guard that could facilitate the ball and could also score? I feel like James Harden's going to come back this year, probably on revenge tour. I feel like he's going to work under Nick Nurse perfectly. I feel like Joel Embiid is going to work under Nick Nurse perfectly. And Tyrese Maxey, I mean, Zalu's giving him a lot of hate. If James Harden were to leave, which I don't believe, if James Harden were to leave, Maxey's the main guard. He's bringing up the ball. He's taking shots. He's scoring points. We've seen it in preseason. We've seen it last year. Tyrese Maxey can definitely be that guy, when you have a player like James Harden or Joel Embiid who's sort of lacking of. Maxey could go ahead. He could drop 25, 30 points a night if you want him to. It's just so much hate that's unnecessary hate for the players like Tyrese Maxey and also James Harden. I feel like he could come into this team, back rejuvenated. He's on a revenge tour. He's definitely going to push levels. He's going to get points. He's going to get assists. He might not be that defensive guy, but at the end of the day, Joel Embiid's there. No one's getting through in the paint. I feel like the perimeter is probably an issue, but at the end of the day, there's so much points coming from that roster.
Yeah, we can all agree on the fact that this pick really does weigh so much on the James Harden and what is to come. We'll obviously keep you posted on what is going to happen there. But that's going to move us into the last lines, my picks for this year. So first of all, I think that this Kings line is way too low. At the 44.5, this Kings team turned on the Jets in the postseason. Avery talked about college teammates. Malik Monk was an absolute nobody on the Hornets, I believe he was on before he was on the Sixers. And then he goes to the Kings and becomes an absolute stud. I mean, he shot the lights out in the playoffs and was just a huge piece to this Kings playoff run. And now you have another year of Keegan Murray to grow. I love what they drafted Jalen Slauson in the draft, which I was a huge fan of. And I think that this Kings team really is going to be very good, especially in the regular season. I think that they can dominate and be a top 3 to 5 seed in the West in the middle of that regular season. And then I know a lot of people are going to hate on me for this Lakers pick, but this line is just too high to me at 47.5. And I just don't think that the Lakers are that good in the regular season. LeBron is really just the same old player. I think Austin Reeves is going to have a very good season. I think he'll be the guy that they're going to look to because, here's my reason. It's 2 words: load management. LeBron and AD love to load manage. They sit a lot of games, and I just think the fact is that they're going to miss too many games. And when they do, this Lakers team just doesn't do it to me. We talked about their supporting cast. It isn't great. There's not a lot of studs. I mean, Torian Prince really coming off the bench. Max Christie. I mean, they're just not great. So I don't think that this Lakers team has enough to do. Apart from Austin Reeves, I think we'll have a very good season.
I'm gonna hop in here. I completely disagree with that Lakers take. I think they have a great supporting cast. D'Angelo Russell, Cam Reddish, Rui Hachimura. I think they have great players around LeBron and AD. LeBron's still getting old. We all know he's the oldest player in the league. I still think he's still gonna put up great numbers. AD is gonna put up great numbers when he's healthy. He's one of the best players in the league, and we've seen that time and time again. And last year they had 43 wins. And I think they've gone a lot better. So yeah, I definitely think Lakers are going over.
I'm going to agree with Guac here. The Lakers are definitely going to go under. They may meet the 47 mark, but I think they will go under for one reason only. Anthony Davis cannot stay healthy. He's been injured constantly. He only played a certain amount of games, which is below the league requirement if you want to compete for MVP. This team is old, not as old as Golden State, but this team is aging, especially with LeBron. Can LeBron stay healthy? This team is surrounded by health issues. And if they want to get over it, they can if LeBron has an MVP caliber season, which I think he can. But AD has to stay healthy, and LeBron absolutely has to stay healthy because he's really the backbone of this team. And if your quarterback doesn't stay healthy, you can't go anywhere in the playoffs and win a Super Bowl. Same thing here. If LeBron doesn't stay healthy, you can't go anywhere in the playoffs and win the NBA Finals. If AD doesn't stay healthy, you can get to the playoffs, but you won't win an NBA Finals, and you certainly won't reach the 47 mark for wins.
I think that's just not 100% true when you have a great team supporting those star players. AD gets injured, you got a great backup center, Christian Wood. He's a great center, quality center. He can get the job done easily. And this team is just great all around LeBron and AD, and I think they'll get it done.
Yeah, I have to completely 100% agree with Dom. So first of all, there's a lot of pessimism on this show. I feel like Anthony Davis, he's gonna come back this year. He's just gonna not be injured. I feel like people are saying he's old. He's still a really solid defensive player, one of the best in the league. He could also drop 20, 25 points a game for you. And you have LeBron James, we don't really need to talk about him. Austin Reeves, he's also going to be a really key role. Rui Hachimura, a lot of people are shoving down. He's definitely putting a lot of points. He helped the Lakers last year. I feel like there are only 3 teams in the West that are better than them. It's Denver, Phoenix, and Golden State. I feel like the Lakers can easily get a 4 seed. I feel like this team is really, really good and really underrated because of Anthony Davis' injury. Also, I feel like Cam Reddish too. He's also going to be really good of a player. I feel just this whole team will have to push themselves throughout the regular season. I feel like they could definitely do that because there's only 3 teams that are somewhat better than them.
Isaiah, thank you. Thank you. I'm going to agree with you all the way. This Lakers team has a stacked bench, and Anthony Davis is not getting injured this year. I'm sorry to say it. He is going to be healthy. We saw Anthony Davis when he was healthy in the bubble. That man is scary. That's someone you do not want to play with. That's like poking a bear and provoking him when you're right next to him. LeBron James, he is the greatest player to ever play the game of basketball in this generation.
Okay.
All right, good. You saved it. You saved it.
Sorry. Rui Hachimura, a great power forward centerpiece. Austin Reeves, we saw him on the USA national team. Did a great job, outshined guys like Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson. We saw him outshine him. Another thing that I've seen that people have actually not really talked about, D'Angelo Russell and Jalen Hood-Schifino. Those two guys are the two big factors on this bench that I think. D'Angelo Russell had a great postseason last year, came into his element, was able to get his field goal percentage up, was able to get his points per game up, was able to find his role in this offense. Jalen Hood-Schifino was one of the best players in college basketball last year. The Summer League was a great place to see him show off. He had about 19, 18 points per game. I think it'll decrease a little bit, probably 13, 14 a game. But he is going to help this Lakers team get the wins that they needed. And last season, they won 43 games and were a 7th seed. We saw those wins did not complement the entire team. They went all the way to the Western Conference Finals and were able to beat teams like the Warriors. And they only lost to the Nuggets in 6 games. This team will win, I'm going to say 50 games, over 50 games. They're definitely going to be one of the most underrated teams in this Western Conference.
2 things wrong with that statement. One, they got swept in the Western Conference Finals last year, and the other is you're wrong. If we're talking about points per game, Anthony Davis is the most inconsistent player on this team. In the first game against Golden State in the second round, he had 12 points. The next game, 23. Then game 3, he had 15. His numbers are very inconsistent, and he's also only played 137 games in the last 3 seasons. And in the last 3 seasons, there have been 246 games. He's only played 55% of those games. He needs to stay healthy and be consistent if this Lakers team wants to crack 50 wins. And I don't know if he can do that if he's not healthy. The thing that stands out to me, though, is he is getting healthier. He's getting stronger. He's been in the gym longer. He's building that consistent offensive resume that we've seen previously when he was on the Pelicans, just being pure dominant in the paint and stretching his game out from the 3-point line. But if this Lakers team wants to win plus 50, he's got to play more and he has to be consistent.
All right, 2 things here. Number 1, I once again completely agree with Avery. I don't think that anyone on this Lakers team really, especially off this bench, is really special. I mean, there's a couple of decent players for sure, but this line, I'm just saying, looking at this line, it's way too high for this team. Also, I don't think the Lakers will be bad, but I don't think that they're a 48-win team. Absolutely not. Now, this is just, I've been waiting to say this all podcast. Once Dominic Urbafina has proclaimed another absolute joke of a take. There's 2 players I've seen disappear all the time. Number 1 is Ben Simmons from the free throw line, and number 2 is Christian Wood on any basketball court. That man is terrible, bro. He is so bad. The Mavericks tried to rely on him last year as a third option to Luka and Kyrie at any point in the season. He is the most inconsistent shooter I've ever seen. He disappears in big spots. And the fact that you said he's a decent big man is, to me, just an absolute joke. He is absolutely terrible. I mean, he averages 14 points a game. Okay, He's so inconsistent. He shoots almost below 30% from the three, and he's just not a good big man in general. So the fact that when AD's out, you have to rely on him, to me, just is once again just so worrisome. He disappears all the time.
You're also the guy that said the Lakers are going to be relying on Austin Reeves. You know
True.
that's not going to happen, really. I mean, LeBron, AD, D'Angelo Russell. I mean, Rui. I mean, he'll get his points here and there. But they're definitely not relying on him. That's completely wrong. And they don't need Christian Watson to. I mean, Christian Wood to be that guy. He's. They just need him to do his job and get it done. All right, that's all they need.
But he doesn't do
AD
his job.
will be
He don't do it.
AD
He
will be a
disappears.
great player this year, and everybody else around him will make AD and Christian Wood 10 times better.
I just disagree.
I'm sorry. I got to hop in. I have to hop in. Giacomo, what are we doing? Christian Wood does not need to shoot threes on this team at all. He does not need to take one at all on this team. You have D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, LeBron James, Anthony Davis. Shoot, even Jackson Hayes can take threes, and I would not care. And he would hit them. Christian Wood is going to be an interior player this season. He is going to take the load off of Anthony Davis. They finally have a backup center / power forward who is not named Thomas Bryant. This is going to be one of the best backup centers in the league. I'm sorry, I have to say it.
Isaiah, we both have the same name. I feel like we have the exact same mind on this too. There's just nothing that's going to stop this team other than probably 3 other teams that are just pushing for championships. I feel like just the Lakers, their depth is insane. Talking about Christian Wood, he doesn't have to shoot threes. You're right, he doesn't have to shoot threes. You have D'Lo, who is a point scorer. He gets you points on the night. LeBron James, we don't even talk about him. He does everything for you on the court. Greatest player of all time, and he's there on your team. There's no way you guys are saying that the Lakers are going to get under 47 or 48 wins, I feel like the Lakers pushing 50, edging 50 with Anthony Davis, healthy. Avery did make a good point about his status, but I feel like this year Davis is going to be lively. He's going to be active. He's going to run the floor. He's going to be there. Not all 82 games, maybe like 65, 70. And I think that's enough for the Lakers. Enough games that they need to, edge that 4th seed, maybe even 3rd, if you're pushing it.
Yeah, I'm gonna hop in here for anybody else. I might as well change my name to Isaiah too, because I'm just all on their side, and the Lakers are gonna have a great year.
I'm keeping my own name here. The one thing that will stop this Lakers team is injuries. That's it. There's nothing else to say. This team has to stay healthy. It's the only thing that can stop them. If they want to win, they got to stay healthy. They crack 50 wins if they stay healthy, but I don't see this team staying consistently healthy this year.
And they will.
One,
They will stay healthy. I'm sorry.
How do you know that? How do you know that?
Because Christian Wood is the backup to Anthony Davis, takes the load off of his shoulders. You have another person coming in, and Austin Reeves taking the place of LeBron James when he comes onto the bench. This team can switch on and off.
No, Christian Wood is a ghost. No, he's a ghost. He disappears.
Let me get in here real quick. You guys are just Avery and Guac. It's like Anthony Davis is the only person on this team. They have a bench. They have depth.
Christian Wood is not a man.
They got all of that. If they want to go a full season winning many games, this is the team to do it. They have the depth. Yes. They have the star players. They can definitely do it.
Yes, but they're going to have to end up relying too heavily on this bench in order to get them into the playoffs. LeBron can only do so much. He's got great role players around him with Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, and Anthony Davis. But they have to rely on this bench with Anthony Davis is out. Christian Wood could possibly fill the shoes. But if he's going to disappear like he is keen to do, I don't think this Lakers team they're a play-in team now. If they stay healthy, they're a playoff team, maybe even a title team. But they're going to have to rely on this bench so much that they may not even get anywhere to start the season.
So Avery, he's hating on the bench. Walk, he's hating on Chris Wood for whatever reason. You guys are forgetting about so many other players, you know. You're thinking about LeBron James. He's the greatest player of all time. He's gonna be probably one of the greatest players in this league. Definitely top 10, probably 7 or 6. You have Anthony Davis. If he's healthy, he's cooking. He's doing anything you want him to do. This Lakers team has the best depth in the whole league. You know, looking at that, you have Max Christie. You know, Zay was talking about it. Amazing preseason. You know, Cam Reddish also, Jackson Hayes, Chris Wood. There's just so many players. They even picked up Gabe Vincent, you know, from Miami. No one's talking about him. He had a really great season in Miami. I feel like the Lakers' depth alone could bring this team so far up. And you know, Chris Wood, he doesn't have to shoot. He could drop 14 points a game, and he could still help the Lakers significantly.
Yeah, and with that last point, I think that's going to take us to the end of this episode. I'm just going to disagree, and I don't think that this depth will be able to withhold the rest of the season. But real quick, before we end it off, follow us on TikTok at St. Joe's Sports Shows, posting all of our clips there. I'll be posting a couple bloopers on there, I believe, especially this episode. But once again, signing off for now. I'm Jock McParley, joined here by Zaylu, Dominic Urbafina, Isaiah Metal, and Avery Stats. Thanks for watching.